Lisa Gardner couldn't believe she was really here. After years of tests, training, and more tests, she was finally sitting in the massive auditorium of the Galactic Coalition's Advanced Military Sciences Academy. The air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres adjusted to accommodate the 30-plus alien species that filled the room. Some floated, some crawled, some had too many limbs to count, but all were focused on the tall, blue-skinned figure at the center of the stage. Headmaster Zoxtrol cleared his throat, which made a sound like stones rattling in a tin can. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he began the welcome speech. Honored cadets, welcome to your first day at the most prestigious military academy in the 7 sectors. You represent the finest young minds from your respective worlds. Your presence here is both an honor and a responsibility. Lisa glanced to her left where John Barrett sat fidgeting with his uniform collar. The standardized kitted uniforms clearly weren't designed with human comfort in mind. To her right, Kate Miller was taking notes on a small tablet, her face serious and focused. The 3 of them had trained together on Earth, but had never expected to be selected for the actual program. The knowledge you gain here will serve your home planets and strengthen the coalition. Zoxtrol continued, his voice booming through translators pinned to each cadet's uniform. You will learn from each other as much as from your instructors. Diversity is our strength. A tall, insect-like alien with gleaming compound eyes chittered something to a neighbor. Though the translation didn't reach Lisa's ears, the tone suggested skepticism. Zoxtrol raised a hand, and the whispers stopped instantly. Before we conclude, there is a special notice regarding our newest additions to the Academy. He pointed toward the back row where the humans sat. For the first time, we welcome 3 humans from the planet Earth, classified as Deathworld 4. Every head in the room turned to stare at them. Some used eye stalks, others rotated their entire bodies. Lisa felt her face grow hot. Standard protocols apply when interacting with Deathworld species, the headmaster continued. Do not engage in physical contests. Avoid surprising them. Under no circumstances should you challenge their endurance. John shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Kate stopped taking notes. Remember, Zoxtrol's voice lowered dramatically. What they consider normal would kill most of you. Their world has gravity 1.3 times our standard. Their atmosphere contains toxic oxygen levels that would poison many of you. They can withstand temperature ranges that would cause tissue damage in most species. The silence in the room grew heavier. A small, floating alien with translucent skin drifted a few inches away from the row in front of the humans. They sleep by becoming unconscious for hours at a time, the headmaster added, causing several gasps from the audience. And perhaps most importantly, they evolved as persistence predators with extreme regenerative capabilities. Lisa wanted to sink into her seat. This wasn't how she had imagined their introduction. On Earth, they were just average military cadets who had scored well on some tests. Here, they were being described like monsters. That concludes our orientation, Zoxtrol said finally. Room assignments are on your devices. Classes begin tomorrow at first bell. As the crowd began to disperse, alien cadets gave the humans a wide berth. No one approached them or made eye contact, except for a few who stared openly with what Lisa guessed was either fear or curiosity. Well, that went well, John muttered, standing up and stretching. Traveled 17 light-years just to be introduced as terrifying Space Orcs. Kate closed her tablet with a snap. Did you hear how they talked about us sleeping? Like it's some kind of weird superpower. I guess when you never lose consciousness, the idea is pretty scary, Lisa said. She watched as a group of small green aliens whispered while pointing in their direction. Come on, let's find our rooms and hope our neighbors don't think we're going to eat them in their sleep. As they walked through the grand hallway, cadets parted before them like water around rocks. Their journey to become the first humans at the academy had only just begun, and already they were set apart, not for their accomplishments, but for the planet that had shaped them. The first week at the academy went by slowly. Lisa, John and Kate struggled to find their place among the alien students who still kept their distance. Their room assignments had placed them in the same wing but different rooms. Lisa shared her space with a floating jellyfish-like creature named Vex, who stayed on the opposite side of the room most of the time. On the 5th day, they had their first zero-gravity training session. The large exercise chamber had its gravity turned off, and students were expected to navigate through a series of obstacles. "Remember, this is not a race," announced Instructor Pellinor, a tall, thin alien with 6 arms. "The goal is control and precision." Lisa watched as the different species took to the exercise in various ways. Some, like the gas-based Nullnori, simply floated through with perfect control. Others struggled to move in straight lines. When it was her turn, Lisa pushed off gently from the wall and used small hand movements to guide herself through the course. She finished with a decent time. Not the best, but far from the worst. John and Kate did similarly well. As they exited the chamber, Lisa noticed the surprised looks from both instructors and students. "Why do they seem shocked?" John whispered. "We didn't even do that great." Kate shrugged. "I think they expected us to either be amazing or terrible, not just average." During lunch, they sat at an empty table in the dining hall. The food was bland, but specially prepared to be safe for human consumption. As they ate, a small green alien with 4 eyes approached their table hesitantly. "May I join you?" it asked in a high-pitched voice. The translator pinned to its uniform buzzed slightly. "Of course," Lisa said, surprised by the request. The alien sat down carefully, keeping a bit of extra space between them. "I am Zinra, from the water moon of Tellus. I watched you in zero-gravity training today." "I'm Lisa. These are John and Kate." Zinra's eyes blinked in sequence. "You moved differently than expected." "What do you mean?" John asked. "The instructors said Deathworlders would likely use too much force, that your muscles are so strong you might launch yourselves into walls." Zinra's voice lowered. "But you were very controlled." Kate smiled. "On Earth, we train for zero gravity. It's not natural for us either." This seemed to surprise the alien. "But you adapt so quickly to hostile conditions." That's what the warning said. Later that day, in tactical analysis class, the humans faced more unexpected reactions. The classroom had tables arranged in a circle, with holographic displays in the center. The instructor, Commander Velshar, a reptilian alien with shimmering scales, presented various battle scenarios. "For this exercise, we will analyze the defense of a space station against multiple attackers," he explained. "Each team will develop a strategy." Lisa found herself grouped with a tall, insect-like Trezin and 2 small furry creatures she couldn't identify. They stared at her with obvious concern. "I won't break anything," she said, trying to sound friendly. The Trizin's mandibles clicked. "We heard humans think very aggressively. That you always seek the attack position." Lisa sighed. "We can be aggressive, yes, but we also understand defense. On our world, we have a saying, 'The best defense is a good defense.'" This confused them, but they began working together. To Lisa's surprise, the alien students listened to her ideas, though they seemed to expect her to suggest the most violent options. After class, Commander Velshar approached the 3 humans as they gathered their materials. "A moment of your time," he said, his voice a low rumble. The humans stopped, waiting. "Your species has a reputation here," he said. "Your ability to withstand impacts, poisons, radiation, and temperature extremes is considered remarkable. But remember," his eyes narrowed slightly, "restraint will be your most valuable skill at this academy." As they walked back to their rooms, Kate shook her head. "They think we're walking disasters just waiting to happen." "Maybe we should show them what humans are really like," John suggested. Lisa nodded slowly. "Not by trying to prove how tough we are, but by showing them we're more than just our biology." As night fell on the academy, the 3 humans made a silent agreement. They would find a way to change minds about Earth and its people, one small interaction at a time. 1 month into the term, things began to change. A few alien students had started talking to the humans in class. Some even sat near them during meals. The warnings about Deathworlders still hung in the air, but curiosity was slowly winning over fear. Lisa was studying in the common area when she noticed a tall, four-armed blue alien watching her from across the room. She recognized him as Graxful, a centurion known for being at the top of most academic classes. After a few minutes, Graxful walked over to her table. His movements were smooth and careful, as if he had practiced this approach. "Human," he said, his translator making his voice sound flat. "I wish to speak with you." Lisa looked up from her tablet. "My name is Lisa, not human." Graxful's large eyes blinked slowly. "Lisa, yes, I have been observing you and the other humans for several weeks now." "That's not creepy at all," Lisa said, but she smiled to show she was joking. Humor was still hard for many aliens to understand. "I believe the warnings about your species are exaggerated," Graxful said loudly enough that several nearby students turned to look. "The Academy tells us to fear you, but I have seen nothing to support these claims." Lisa closed her tablet. "What are you suggesting?" "I propose a series of contests, academic and physical, to establish a more accurate assessment of human abilities." By now, a small crowd had gathered around them. John and Kate pushed through to stand beside Lisa. "What kind of contests?" John asked. Graxful's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Nothing dangerous. Tactical simulations, survival scenarios, mathematical modeling. Perhaps some controlled physical exercises." Kate crossed her arms. "And the point would be to see what humans are truly capable of, without rumors and warnings clouding judgment." The three humans exchanged looks. They were tired of being treated like walking disasters. This might be their chance to show everyone who they really were. "We accept," Lisa said. Word spread quickly through the academy. The challenge between the humans and Graxful became the main topic of conversation. But something unexpected happened. Other students wanted to join. "This should not be humans against everyone else," said Zinra, the small green alien who had first spoken to them. "We should form mixed teams. Test how well we work together." Soon, the simple challenge became a complex event. The academy staff, unable to stop it under student regulations, decided to supervise instead. They set up proper safety measures and added structure to the contests. 4 teams formed, each with students from different species, including 1 human per team. The challenges would take place over several weeks between regular classes. The first contest was a tactical simulation. Lisa's team included Zinra, a gas-form minority named Pix, and a heavy-gravity species called Duvan. "The mission is simple," explained Commander Velshar. "Your ship has crashed on an unknown planet. You must reach the emergency beacon 20 kilometers away across difficult terrain." The simulation started. Each team entered a separate virtual reality chamber where they would experience a computer-generated environment. Lisa's team found themselves in a rocky desert with 3 suns beating down on them. The heat display showed temperatures that would be uncomfortable for humans, but dangerous for some of her teammates. "Pix will suffer in this heat," Zinra said, looking at the Melmori who was already beginning to lose shape in the heat. "I can move faster than any of you," Pix said, voice crackling through its translator. "But not in this." Lisa looked at the rocky overhangs ahead. "We need to use everyone's strengths. Pix can scout ahead through shadows where it's cooler. Dovin can handle the heaviest equipment since high gravity doesn't bother him. Zinra can find water with those sensor organs. And you can endure when the rest of us cannot," Dovin said, his deep voice rumbling. Lisa shook her head. "No, I can help coordinate. This isn't about who's toughest. It's about working together." For the first time, her teammates looked at her not with fear or awe, but with something new: respect. The challenge had begun. but it was already changing things in ways no one had expected. The challenges continued for 3 weeks. Lisa's team did well in the tactical simulation, finishing second overall. John's team won the mathematical modeling contest thanks to a clever solution from a silicon-based alien named Rux. Kate's team placed first in the survival scenario, finding a way to keep everyone alive despite harsh conditions. As the contests went on, something important was happening. The lines between species were starting to blur. Students began to see each other as individuals with unique skills, not just as members of different species. Then disaster struck. It was a normal day of classes. Lisa was in the quantum physics laboratory with 20 other students. Their instructor, Professor Nax, was showing them how to safely contain unstable energy fields. The key is proper balance, Professor Nax explained, his 6 eyes focused on the glowing orb suspended in the center of the lab. Too much power and... A loud alarm cut him off mid-sentence. Red lights began flashing throughout the room. Containment failure in Lab 3. A voice announced over the speakers. Eastern Wing lockdown initiated. The heavy doors to the lab slammed shut automatically. Students looked around in confusion and fear. Professor Nax rushed to a control panel. Everyone stay calm. The safety systems are activating. But something was wrong. The panel showed error messages. The glowing orb in the center of the room pulsed brighter, and waves of energy began to leak out. Radiation detected, the computer announced, increasing to dangerous levels. Lisa felt her skin tingle. She knew enough about radiation to understand the danger. Most species in the room were more sensitive to radiation than humans. Professor Nax tried to override the system, but without success. The main controls are not responding. We need to evacuate now. He led them to an emergency exit, but it wouldn't open. The lockdown had sealed all doors. They were trapped. Word spread quickly through the academy about the accident. The staff tried to control the situation, but fear grew as reports came in. 17 students were trapped in the Eastern Wing, and the life support systems were failing. The radiation levels were rising. In the main hall, Headmaster Zoxtrol called for emergency teams. We need volunteers who can withstand radiation long enough to reach the manual override controls. John, Kate, and Lisa stepped forward without hesitation. We can help, John said. Humans have better radiation resistance than most species here. The headmaster looked at them with all 4 of his eyes. This is precisely why we issued warnings about your kind. Your world has made you resistant to conditions that would quickly kill others. He paused. But now, those same traits may save lives. The rescue team formed quickly. The humans would enter the contaminated area with minimal protective gear. They would need to reach the central control room to reset the safety systems and unlock the doors. The radiation levels will cause damage even to you, warned the medical officer as she gave them special suits. But you should survive long enough to complete the mission. Kate nodded. How long do the trapped students have? The air quality is already dropping, the officer said, and radiation exposure is accumulating. They have perhaps 1 hour before permanent damage begins. As they prepared to enter the Eastern Wing, Lisa noticed other students watching them. Not with fear this time, but with hope and concern. Be careful, Zinra said, their 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Return safely. The humans checked their equipment one last time. The situation was dangerous, yes, but this was what they had trained for back on Earth. Emergency response. Crisis management. Saving lives. Ready? Lisa asked her friends. They nodded, faces serious but determined. The sealed door to the Eastern Wing opened just enough to let them through, then closed behind them with a heavy thud. The rescue mission had begun. The Eastern Wing was eerily quiet. Emergency lights cast strange shadows along the walls. The humans moved quickly, checking their radiation meters every few minutes. The levels are rising, Kate said, looking at the small device on her wrist. We need to hurry. They followed the map on their tablets, making their way toward the quantum physics lab. According to the emergency plan, they needed to reach the manual override controls located in the central hub. Do you hear that? John stopped suddenly, holding up his hand. Lisa and Kate paused. A faint sound came from a side corridor, a rhythmic tapping. Someone's there, Lisa whispered. They moved toward the sound. Around the corner, they found Professor Nax. The alien was slumped against the wall, one of his arms tapping weakly against a metal pipe. When he saw the humans, his 6 eyes widened. "You came," he said, his voice thin and raspy. The students, still trapped in the lab. I tried to stay with them, but the air. John knelt beside the professor. "Can you walk? We need to get you out of here." The professor shook his head. "Save my students first. I can wait." Lisa checked her tablet. "The lab is still 2 corridors away. Kate, get the professor back to the entrance. John and I will continue to the lab." Kate nodded and helped Professor Nax to his feet. They moved slowly back the way they had come. John and Lisa pressed forward, the radiation meters now beeping more frequently. The protective suits helped, but they could feel the effects: slight dizziness, a metallic taste in their mouths. When they reached the lab entrance, the door was sealed shut. Through a small window, they could see students inside. Some were lying on the floor, others huddled together in the corner farthest from the still pulsing energy orb. "We need to get to the central hub to override the locks," Lisa said. As they turned to continue down the corridor, they were startled by a figure emerging from a maintenance shaft in the wall. It was Grax Full, the 4-armed centurion. "What are you doing here?" John asked in shock. "The radiation. My species evolved in high-radiation gas giants," Grax Full explained, though his voice sounded strained. "I cannot match your endurance or strength, but I can withstand radiation better than most at the academy." Lisa stared at him. "You followed us in. That's what you would have done," Grax Full finished. "I observed your response to danger. It seemed logical." Despite the danger, John smiled. "Well, we could use the help. We need to reach the central hub." Grax Full nodded. "I know a faster way. The maintenance tunnels connect throughout this wing. Follow me." The Centurion led them through narrow passages that weren't on their standard maps. The radiation levels were slightly lower in these protected areas. When they finally emerged, they were directly outside the central hub. The control room was filled with blinking lights and warning displays. John went straight to the main panel while Lisa and Grax Full studied the system diagrams. The containment field collapsed completely, Grax Full said, pointing to a flashing red section. "We need to redirect power to the emergency systems first." John's fingers moved quickly over the controls. "Working on it. Lisa, can you reset the door locks from that terminal?" They worked together smoothly, each focusing on different tasks. After several tense minutes, the system acknowledged their commands. "Door locks disengage," the computer announced. "Emergency ventilation activated." "Now we need to get the students out," Lisa said. They hurried back toward the lab, finding that the doors had indeed unlocked. Inside, the students looked up with hope as the humans and Grax Full entered. "We need to move quickly," John told them. "Can everyone walk?" 3 students couldn't stand on their own. Without hesitation, Lisa and John each lifted one, while Grax Full, with his 4 arms, carefully supported the third. As they started the journey back, they met Kate returning with emergency medical staff who had been waiting at the entrance. The staff wore heavy protective suits and carried specialized equipment. "Professor Nax is safe," Kate reported. "Let's get everyone else out." Working together, they formed a chain, Grax Full identifying the safest path through the radiation pockets, the humans carrying those too weak to move, and the medical staff providing immediate treatment as they went. One by one, they brought the trapped students to safety, racing against both time and the increasing radiation levels. 2 weeks after the accident, life at the academy had changed. All 17 trapped students had survived, though some needed more medical care than others. The humans and Graxfall spent 3 days in the medical bay, receiving treatment for radiation exposure. Their actions were praised by everyone, from students to the highest academy officials. But something more important had changed. The way species viewed each other was different now. Lisa noticed it first during her morning class. Instead of sitting with their own kinds, students mixed together more freely. During discussions, they no longer referred to each other by species but by names. "The curriculum has been adjusted," announced Commander Velshar at the beginning of tactical training. "From now on, we will focus on complementary abilities and cooperative tactics." The commander assigned them to new teams for the day's exercise. Lisa found herself paired with a Trizan named Kolvak, whose hard exoskeleton could withstand crushing pressure but made him sensitive to heat. "Today's mission involves multiple environmental challenges," Commander Velshar explained. "You will face a compression chamber, thermal barriers, and low oxygen zones. Each team must reach the endpoint with all members." As they reviewed the course map, Kolvak turned to Lisa. "I can help during the compression chamber. My exoskeleton will not collapse even under extreme pressure. And I can take the lead in the thermal section," Lisa replied. "Humans have good temperature tolerance." "A logical partnership," Kolvak said, his mandibles clicking in what Lisa had learned was a sign of approval. Throughout the academy, similar conversations were happening. Students were learning to see different biologies not as strange or frightening, but as useful variations that could help solve problems. During mealtimes, the dining hall looked completely different. The formerly separated eating areas had transformed. Species gathered not by biology, but by shared interests. At one table, students discussed weapon technology. At another, they debated philosophy and ethics. John sat with a group talking about space flight tactics. Kate joined a team designing new communication systems that would work for all species, and Lisa found herself at a table with Graxfall, Zinra, and several other students who were interested in emergency response protocols. "We should create mixed rescue teams permanently," suggested a floating Melnori. "The recent crisis showed how effective that can be." Graxfall nodded. "The humans' physical endurance combined with my radiation resistance allowed us to reach areas others could not. And my species can filter toxins from the air," added the Melnori, their translucent body pulsing slightly. "We could help in chemical emergencies." Lisa looked around the table, amazed at how quickly things had changed. What about creating a database? Each species could list their unique abilities that might help in different crisis situations. The idea was met with enthusiasm. They began working on it right away, with students from across the academy offering information about their species' special capabilities. Later that day, Headmaster Zoxtrol called the 3 humans to his office. The large room was filled with strange objects from many worlds. The headmaster sat behind a curved desk, his 4 eyes focusing on them one by one. "I want to discuss your experience here," he said. "When you arrived, we issued warnings about Deathworld species. We emphasized your physical differences and potential dangers." The humans waited, unsure where this was going. "I now see that was incomplete," Zoxtrol continued. "While your biology is indeed shaped by your planet's harsh conditions, that is true of all species in different ways. The Melnori evolved in toxic gas clouds. The Trizans developed in crushing gravity. The Centurions in radiation-heavy environments." He stood up, his tall form towering over them. "The academy curriculum is being revised. Rather than focusing on differences between species, we will emphasize how our unique evolutionary paths can complement each other." Lisa felt a surge of pride, not just for what they had accomplished, but for how the entire academy was changing. "Your actions during the crisis demonstrated what we should have been teaching all along," the headmaster concluded. "True strength comes not from avoiding our differences, but from combining them." The end of the academic year arrived faster than anyone expected. The grand auditorium was once again filled with representatives from all species, but the atmosphere was completely different from that first day. Instead of separate groups keeping their distance, students sat in mixed clusters, talking and laughing together. Lisa, John, and Kate sat near the front, their uniforms now decorated with achievement pins from various academy events. The past year had been challenging, but also rewarding in ways they never imagined. Headmaster Zoxtroll stepped onto the stage, and the room fell silent. His 4 eyes surveyed the gathered students before he began to speak. When this academic year began, I gave a speech about diversity and cooperation, he said. But I also issued warnings about our first human cadets from Deathworld 4. I spoke of their physical differences as potential dangers to be avoided. He paused, looking directly at the 3 humans. Today, I offer a different message. What we failed to understand was that every species here brings both risks and gifts. The true strength of the coalition lies not in avoiding our differences, but in combining our unique abilities. Around the room, students nodded in agreement. Many looked toward the humans with respect rather than fear. This year has taught us valuable lessons, the headmaster continued. When the quantum physics laboratory suffered a containment failure, it wasn't just human endurance that saved lives. It was Centurion radiation resistance, Melnori toxin filtering, Trizon structural support, and countless other biological specialties working together. The graduation ceremony proceeded with students receiving their commissions. Each graduate would return to their homeworld with new knowledge, skills, and most importantly, new perspectives on interspecies cooperation. After the ceremony, Lisa, John, and Kate gathered with their friends in the Academy Gardens. Graxful, Zinra, Kulvak, and others joined them to celebrate. "What will you do when you return to Earth?" asked Zinra, their green skin glowing slightly in the evening light. "We'll share what we've learned," Kate said, "both the technical knowledge and the lessons about cooperation. Perhaps I will visit Earth someday." Graxful said, "Your death worlds sounds fascinating." John laughed. "You might want to start with a short visit. Our gravity and oxygen levels would take some getting used to." As the evening continued, Academy Director Vental approached their group. The tall, silver-skinned alien carried a small data tablet. "I have a request for our human graduates," she said. "The next group of human recruits will arrive in 3 months. Would you help prepare orientation materials for them?" The humans exchanged surprised looks. The traditional warnings about Deathworld species have proven insufficient, Director Vental explained. "We need a more balanced approach." The next morning, the 3 humans met in the Academy Library to begin working on the orientation materials. They discussed what to include and how to present information about Earth and its people. "We should be honest," John said. "Yes, we come from a world with higher gravity, more extreme temperatures, and higher oxygen levels. But that's not the most important thing about us." Kate nodded. "Every species here developed under unique conditions. That's just biology, not destiny." Lisa typed notes on her tablet. "And we should emphasize that adaptability is the real human strength, not just physical endurance." When they finished, the new orientation packet contained a simple addition that would be given to all future students, not just humans. "Warning: you will arrive with preconceptions about your classmates. These are your greatest liability. Leave them behind." As the time came for them to return to Earth, Lisa looked out the viewport of their transport ship. The Academy grew smaller as they pulled away, but its impact would stay with them forever. "Do you think we changed things?" Kate asked quietly. John smiled. "Look at our graduation pins. 3 humans who were warned about as dangers, finishing in the top ranks of their classes. I'd say we definitely changed things." Lisa nodded. "And next year's humans won't be introduced as monsters. They'll be welcomed as partners." The ship accelerated toward Earth, carrying 3 graduates who had done more than just complete their education. They had helped build bridges between worlds that once seemed impossibly different.